This video is going to help you just review some basic poetic literary devices, so specifically for your assignment where you have to find some of these and identify them inside of your own personal poem. This should help you. So one of the options that you can look for is imagery. Imagery is going to be anything that evokes the five senses. So you want to think along the lines of like something when you read the words you can see it, or you can hear it, or you can taste it, or you can smell it, or touch it. So here's an example from William Wordsworth. A violet by a mossy stone, half hidden from the eye, fair as a star when only one is shining in the sky. So this has got a few different pieces. The last one, when only one is shining in the star, well, you can, or in the sky, you can kind of picture what a sky looks like when you can only see one fair, teeny tiny star. So that can be a scene. A violet up here, this is where they're talking about an actual purple violet, like the flower. So this could be seen. This could perhaps be touching. It could perhaps be smelling. Mossy stone most likely is touching. I'm sure you've touched a stone that's covered in like the green slimy stuff, right? So there's a few different images here that create those feelings and those thoughts. So that's going to be one option. A second option you could look for is a metaphor. Now, a metaphor, here's our definition: a comparison between two essentially unlike things. And this is going to be the one where they don't use the words like or as. So this was kind of a tricky one. This is an actual example from Emily Dickinson in your curriculum. It says, but never met this fellow, attended or alone, without a tighter breathing, and zero at the bone. Well, this and zero at the bone is the slang expression, which means a snake, because snakes don't have bones, and that's, zero. And so what she's actually comparing is a man to a snake. So if you choose to do metaphor, you need to tell me what two things they are comparing and how you know. So if this was your example, you would want to say, here's the slang expression. The snake doesn't have bones. She's talking about a fellow here, so I know she's comparing the man to the snake. Okay. A third option is a simile, which is the comparison of two things using the keywords like or as. So this one says from Amy Lowell, when I go away from you, the world beats dead like a slackened drum. So the two things that she's comparing here is world and then drum. And it's basically like a drum that doesn't work. That's what slackened means. They're the kinds that, like if you think of the Indian drums with the hard top, it's basically slunk in and it doesn't move, so it doesn't beat. So again, with the simile, you're going to need to tell me what two things are compared. So in this case, it would be world and then drum, and then the simile is identified as the like. Okay. A fourth option is personification. Personification is when you've got the human characteristics of inanimate objects, so objects that are not living, or abstract ideas. An abstract idea would be like love. And so we've got here, slowly, silently, now the moon walks the night in her silver shoon. This way and that she peers and sees silver fruit upon silver trees. So our inanimate object is the moon right here, and she's actually doing two human things. The first one is she's walking. Obviously, the moon does not walk, and she peers, or she's looking, or she's seeing, and the moon doesn't see. So those would be personification. Your fifth option would be symbolism. Now, symbolism can get a little tricky. Basically, you're looking for a symbol where they're using an object or a meaning that goes beyond just their literal meaning. So in this poem, I'm going to read it really quick to you. It says, "A Poisonous Tree." It's by William Blake. "I was angry with my friend. I told my wrath did end. I was angry with my foe. I told it not. My wrath did grow. And I watered it in fears, night and morning with my tears. And I sunned it with my smiles, and with soft, deceitful wiles. And it grew both day and night, till it bore an apple bright. And my foe beheld it shine, and he knew that it was mine. And into my garden stole, when the night had veiled the pole. In the morning glad I see my foe outstretched beneath the tree." Now we know that the tree is poisonous because of up here. We know that it is bearing an apple, that it's an apple because of this. Foe means enemy, and we know the foe is outstretched beneath the tree, like, glad to see and going to be hungry and grab an apple. And so this symbol goes back to the biblical symbol of Adam and Eve, where Eve eats from the tree. We know that she eats a fruit. We don't know that it's necessarily an apple, but we know that she eats a fruit, and sin enters in. And another poisonous apple that you may be aware of is Snow White and the poisonous apple. So this symbol, the apple, is what is the poison. And so that becomes the symbol in the story about how over here I was angry with my foe, I told it not, my wrath did grow. So this person didn't confront their enemy, and they let the anger just grow into a very poisonous fruit. And so that can be another one. So you can see that symbolism may be a little tricky. Okay, you can use connotation or denotation. Denotation, here's our definition right here, is just the literal meaning. Connotation is the implied meaning. If you're not 100% sure about these, you can go practice in section 1 of part C of the poetry unit. It's going to list about 20 plus words, and when you click on the answer, you can see if it's connotation or denotation. You may want to try practicing that before identifying these inside of your poem. And the last option would be alliteration. Alliteration is the initial consonant sounds in the neighboring words. So if you think about consonants, that's going to be B, C, D, F, G, H, J, K, L, so forth. And so like here from our last poem that we looked at with the moon, slowly, silently, now the moon walks the night in her silver shoon. So we've got the S repeating. Oops, sorry, I lost my little mouse here. The S's. So we've got slowly, silently, silver shoon. And you've seen alliteration try and help with memory, because these are all phrases that use alliteration. You're going to sink or you swim. You're going to do or you die. The more the merrier, and live and learn. Okay, so those are all alliterations. So those may be fairly easy to find inside of your poem to identify if indeed your poem does have alliteration. Okay, so those are going to be some of your options. Again, this week's assignments are Sassoon quiz, Frost quiz, and poetry analysis. Sassoon quiz, which is from the poem Base Details, and Frost quiz, which is from the poem Birches, may have some of these questions inside of there, but poetry analysis is where you're going to have to identify it on your own. So as always, if you have any questions, let me know, and otherwise I look forward to reading your work.